In competitive Pokémon, there is a specific archetype built entirely around surviving overwhelming impact to deliver devastating retaliation. This radar chart maps Magneton's base stats, showcasing a profile suited for this role, an electric and steel dual typing with a massive 120 special attack. But it is held back by two severe deficits, a fragile 50 HP stat and a middling 70 speed. Standard competitive logic suggests compensating for that slow speed by investing the maximum 252 effort values, or EVs, into the stat. Yet in advanced Smogon tiers, top players intentionally run 248 speed EVs. For Magneton, the surrender of those 4 speed points is a deliberate trade, ensuring a specific interaction that higher speed builds cannot replicate. The base 70 speed tier is highly contested. Maximizing speed EVs is usually mandatory to ensure you can outpace, or at least tie, other Pokémon in the exact same bracket.
Consider a common mirror match, a defensive Eviolite Magneton facing off against an offensive Choice Specs Magneton. This timeline illustrates the speed time mechanic. If both players invest the maximum 252 speed EVs, their stats are identical, resolved with a 50-50 coin flip. By dropping to 248 EVs, you mathematically eliminate the coin flip, guaranteeing Magneton moves second. Those 4 leftover EVs are shifted into defense, which decreases the residual damage Magneton takes from hazards like Stealth Rock upon entering the field. In this specific matchup, moving second is not a failure of optimization, but a necessary condition for the secondary effects we will soon examine. This adjustment shifts the interaction from a gamble to a predictable sequence, providing a mechanical baseline for Magneton's primary offensive strategy. Moving second dictates that Magneton has to take a hit. With base 50 HP and 95 defense, its natural physical bulk is rarely enough to survive strikes from top-tier threats. Because Magneton can still evolve into Magnezone, holding the Eviolite item boosts both defense and special defense by 50%. It can now absorb a boosted attack from severe threats, like Doublade, and stay on the field. Artificially inflating bulk is the mandatory mathematical prerequisite for any strategy that relies on moving last. You have to survive the initial strike to execute the counter. With survival guaranteed, Magneton can exploit the reason for running 248 speed EVs, its ability, Analytic. Analytic requires a specific condition to activate. The first trigger is that the user must move last in the turn sequence. The secondary trigger condition is met if the opponent decides to switch their Pokémon out of battle before Magneton attacks. Analytic boosts Magneton's base damage by 30%. If the opponent attacks first, Magneton absorbs the blow and retaliates with a tower spike. If they retreat, Analytic tracks the switch, applying that same damage spike to the new defensive counter. Analytic punishes the opponent's choices, applying pressure regardless of whether they fight or flee. The central move that ties the Eviolite bulk and the Analytic boost together is Volt Switch. Magneton absorbs the opponent's hit with its Eviolite bulk, triggers the Analytic boost by moving second, and calculates damage using its electric type same type attack bonus. Volt Switch then executes its secondary effect. Immediately after dealing damage, it removes Magneton from the field, allowing you to pivot to a safe teammate. Ground-type Pokémon like Gastrodon, or the bulky Seismitoad, are immune to electric attacks and can block this escape route. To prevent this, Magneton relies on Flash Cannon and Hidden Power Grass to hit ground types for super effective damage. To ensure it isn't entirely overrun by hyper-fast offensive threats, Magneton also utilizes Sticky Web hazard support to slow down the opposing team to a manageable baseline. A traditional offensive sweeper attempts to stay on the field and knock out consecutive targets. A momentum engine like Magneton enters the field, deals an unignorable chunk of damage, and immediately exits, slowly dismantling the opposing team while staying safe. This pivoting strategy relies on a Volt-Turn core, a team architecture built around using Volt Switch and U-Turn to maintain continuous positional advantage. This flowchart maps a core connecting Magneton, a U-Turn pivot like Gligar, and a defensive wall like Alomomola. Magneton absorbs a hit, fires an Analytic-boosted attack, and passes position to the pivot, which routes any retaliation straight into the wall, protecting Magneton.
Every stat point and item slot is chosen based on how it supports the rotation, making the build's effectiveness dependent on the team's ability to keep the cycle moving. This entire loop, however, has a critical blind spot. Pokémon with electric immune abilities will completely break the sequence. Specific threats like Zero Aura utilizing Volt Absorb or Mega Manectric bringing Lightning Rod stop Volt Switch from functioning. These abilities trap Magneton on the field, denying the Volt Switch escape. This forces the fragile Steel type to take unmitigated damage from coverage moves like Close Combat or Overheat. Despite these hard counters, the build demonstrates how specific items and abilities can be layered to redefine a Pokémon's role within its competitive tier. Advanced competitive play rarely relies on maximizing raw numbers. It requires identifying specific mechanical synergies that turn perceived weaknesses, like a slow speed stat, into calculated mathematical advantages.